Hello everybody, this is Mickey back with Wheels Mill Homestead. We're out here on a journey today and we're going to go to a community that's near my hometown that I always visit. Been coming here for a long time to get all the plants that I plant for our garden. Tomatoes, peppers, anything that you need, you can find it down here at the Mennonites. And so we're going to go down and visit. We thought we'd stop, take a look at our little waterfall. We're going to have another tour of another waterfall here shortly. And here in this county, we have more waterfalls than just about any other county in Tennessee, and so we're really proud of that. And we love to visit our waterfalls whenever we get a chance. I don't like to drive by one unless we can stop and take just a moment to really enjoy it. So we're going to have another stop like this on the way, but we're really excited, and I think you will be too. We're gonna go back in time just a little bit, and we're gonna see how they used to do it the old way. But I'm telling you, it works. All the modern technologies that we have today, that is great. The fertilizer improvements and all that. But let's go see old school ways that still exist today, and it exists, going to exist forever. And you can also do the same thing that these Mennonites and the Amish do. So the best way to learn is to go visit the Amish, visit your local communities, everybody that gardens, because everybody does it different. And the more information you have, the better you're going to have an understanding of the best way to do it. So stay tuned, guys, and I think you're going to really enjoy these visits. So let's get off to the next stop. Guys, this is one of the reasons I love coming down here to the Mennonites, down here to March. It's a real joy and a treat. I wish that I could grow vegetables like this, but it's a real treat to come down and buy their vegetables and plant it into the garden, because you're always getting quality. And I love to come down and see everything. They're always coming up with something new. I've never seen these type of planters before, but anyway, those are pretty. And so come on with me and let's take a look and see what variety of vegetables and plants that they have down here. Basically, we're just looking for hot weather. Still about 2 weeks before we can put anything in the ground because of frost. But if we don't get it now, you won't get it. One thing I've learned over the years is you've got to time it down here to get the plants at the right height that you like, because once they start reaching the point and the weather warms up, you can't even find parking room down here because they come from everywhere. Every county you can imagine comes here and buys their plants. But they do have plenty of them. I see they have more of those hanging baskets in there, that style, that I've never seen before. But here we go. Here's some good looking tomatoes. Smell the wood from their wood stoves where they keep their greenhouses warm at night. And one thing about here at the Mennonites, they do all of it wood stoves. They've got it down to a science where they know how to control the temperature and the right size of piece of wood and what's the variety and the species. The hickory burns a lot harder. The oak burns not as hot. And so they know exactly. They've got it down to a science. But they've really got some good looking plants now. These are about ready. I would say all of them. The size of these plants, I'm going to take these and buy everything that I need, and I'm going to keep them inside until the weather is right, and then I'll harden them off and before I plant them into the ground. They have a lot to choose from. This is going to be exciting. It's a good thing I brought a truck with a camper. Yes. And that's something I'm sure all of you know, but when you pick up your plants, you certainly don't want to put them in the back of a truck for the wind to beat them up, because that will just set them back for weeks. So you want to kind of baby your plants the best you can. So here's my jet stars. Tell you why I like jet star. So a lot of the elderly population, as I've learned over time, there's this thing called reticulitis that a lot of elderly women will get, and it's from the seeds. So one of the things I like about jet stars, they don't have as many seeds as the rest of the tomatoes, but the acid content is about 50% of a lot of your other regular tomatoes. Unless you know, if you want to get a lower acid tomato, you're going to have to go with a yellow variety. Other than that, the jet stars have less acid than most tomatoes. Ask me how I know. You just simply ask these people around here and they'll tell you anything you want to know. Of course, I learned that a long time ago. I like the Bush Goliath, except they don't make a lot of tomatoes. They make big Golly Whopper tomatoes, but not a lot of them. I like the jet stars. I can generally get 10, 12, 15 pounds off of one plant. And if it's a really good year, you can get more than that. I'm gonna tell you, your plants look a lot better since the last time we were here.
They do.
We're gonna load up this time.
They do look better.
They do.
Warm weather.
Yes, definitely.
Warm weather does a lot. So
you still have a lot of people right now coming in and buying?
yes, it's been busy. So when everybody looks at the forecast and you see 32 degrees, like I think currently we have in our forecast,
3 days.
it puts the damper on everyone's out gardening spirit.
Yes.
So it fluctuates, but I'm going to tell you, after this little cold snap, it's gonna be wide open.
And I think that maybe one more time. You know, my rule of thumb has always been April 15th, but
Yes.
the last few years that's been fluctuates a little bit. Last year, April 28th before the last frost.
I personally feel like April 15th is a bit on the early side.
Yep.
That is rule of thumb. I believe that is a little on the early side. And this year, if we can take trees as an indicator at all, our trees are not what they have been in the past as far as flushing out. They are not. Does that mean we're going to have a cooler later spring? I have no idea. But our trees certainly are not as full as I have seen them in the 7th of April.
Normally in April you're seeing young leaves on
That is the truth. And it's late. I'm just telling you guys, it's late.
And even redbuds. Redbuds are not even blooming yet.
Yes.
Dogwoods are blooming.
They
actually,
are,
you know.
and our red buds have started. You
Yeah,
can
I
see
see
right
that
there
one,
on the
yeah.
hill. They have started, but it is a late spring, and I don't know. I feel like when we talk of planting plants and not having to cover for frost, some of the old timers, there's 1,000 different sayings, but if you go by a walnut tree is late to bud out.
Mm-hmm. It's always the last one.
That's correct. And so my thoughts are, if you want to play it on the safe side, wait for your walnut trees. And I think you're going to be much safer.
I think so.
I sell plants. I don't want everybody to wait till May.
Right.
But if I were telling you the honest truth, I do believe that May is
optimal time.
Is the time.
So as far as temperature goes, what is the low side for the temperature on a tomato plant? Isn't it about 45? When you've got it in the ground, you don't want it to get around below 45.
So if they're acclimated, you can handle temps lower than that, and without hurting, without certainly killing your plant. Stunning it, if it's prolonged at that period, it's going to stun it. When you start seeing that slightly purplish look, that thing has been cold. Now your plant won't necessarily die, but it will set it back. And that's the issue with planting too early in the spring, in my opinion, is trying to keep your ground temperature just isn't there. And if your ground temperature isn't there, you aren't growing.
For seeds, and you're just going to be stagnant. The roots are just going to sit there.
That is the truth.
There's a lot of rain. It's just going to be soggy roots, and then
indeed,
when it does take off and warm up, then it's just going to be a stunning plant.
And so
that's my opinion.
Yeah. So many times you can take a plant, a 5-6 inch tomato plant, and put it out early May when you have temperatures that are, nights that are regularly in the 50s, and it will catch up to or possibly exceed the plant that you put out early April.
Yeah, absolutely. I've
That's
seen
just
that. I've
the
seen
way
that
it
in
is.
many times.
Yes.
But listen, we're going to gather up some plants. Appreciate the interview.
You're very welcome.
And we're going to load the truck up, and so we're going to try to get enough plants. We're going to come back and probably again in about 2 weeks, just to do a backup plan of what I'm trying to do. I'm doing a lot of container gardening,
Yes.
raised bed gardening, stuff
Yes.
like that. And so I like tomatoes. And I was saying earlier about your Jet Star. To my knowledge, until you get into the yellow family, the Jet Star has a lesser amount of acid than most of the rest of your tomatoes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. Even though they are a nice red tomato,
Right.
and they do have good flavor and production.
I love
Production's pretty solid.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but so I'll do them on a clip and a string, and then I've done them on every baskets and everything you imagine. But I think that I've got an average about 10 to 12 to sometimes 13, 14 pounds per plant.
I would say quite easily. That is not hard for me to believe at all. There's a gentleman that bought plants here for years, recently passed away, and he would come down and buy 14 plants every year. And I would go to his house, and those were the best 14 plants I think I have ever laid eyes on. And he would get a variety: Early Girl, Jet Star, celebrities. I could name off any. Better Boy were always some of them. He would mulch them. I mean, just the composted cow manure and then mulch on top of that. These plants were massive. And he said, general rule, he would get 50 pounds of tomatoes per each one of those plants per year. And I'm just going to tell you, they were trees. If you went to his place in August, this is what happens when you really take care of a few plants. You could put out 50 plants, and if you don't take care of them, you will get fewer tomatoes or product, whatever that is, in my opinion, off of a few very well taken care of plants.
I agree. 100%.
So that's just
100%.
So you can kill yourself by
and
putting
the
out
quality is going to be so much better when you taste it.
Yes.
You know, if you take
Yes.
care of it. Goodness gracious, I know you know, but the price of the way fertilizers has tripled, quadrupled. So I went to one of the big box stores the other day and was looking at some triple 15, like I normally get triple 10, triple 15, and normally 22, 23 is about the highest that I've paid. I bought it when it was 8.
Yes.
$60. $60 for a 50-pound bag of triple 15.
So yeah, and that is the case, and we had to go up somewhat on our pricing simply because the cost of everything
else
is going through the
Even
roof.
the plastic containers went up.
That is the truth. Well, I was and hopefully quality. I don't want to sell. I don't care what the price is. I want to sell quality.
Absolutely.
That comes first and foremost to
Quality
me.
will have the residual customer
That is
every
the truth.
year.
And this is
And that's what I base my deal with my sawmill. It's all about quality.
Yes, it is.
Just be friends.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
It's just a board. So, you know, I never have really any issues, but if I ever did, it's like, well, here, have another one.
Correct.
You know,
That is
won't cost you a dime. Here's another one. Go try again. I'm sorry.
That is, at the end of the day, it is the relationship you have with your customer.
That's what we're here for, right? We're supposed to
Absolutely.
be brother and sister to everybody and take care of each other that we can, and you know, be friends with everybody and try to, you know, if we're in the business, we want, like you're talking about, we want quality, and that way we'll keep coming back.
That is the truth, and we have seen it time and again. You know,
and
you guys, you're a prime example.
Yeah, I've been coming here 30 years.
I know.
I've been coming right here 30 years.
Yes.
Well,
My mom's place.
Your mom's other place first, and then
Yes.
you built this.
Yes.
But the beaches over here.
Yes.
My kids, when I brought them down here and threw them up on their horses.
Yes.
30 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're like, you know, how the kids are. And they're like, can we ride? Yeah, get that shovel and come on.
Right. Well, I know for a fact that many of you guys' faces I saw since I was a kid, and you know, here I am, 39,
Yeah,
been here 11 years,
yeah.
and now I'm raising my kids. I mean, who would have guessed?
It's all God's plan.
Who would have guessed?
It's all His plan.
It is.
At least, I think so. But anyway, we're not going to take any more of your time.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
very much, and we're going to load some vegetables.
If I can help you, I'd be happy to.
So guys, as far as the cherry tomatoes, I've tried a lot of different varieties, and I always stick with the Sweet 100 cherries, and they always do really good. But Mr. Martin was telling us about a new variety that they've got this year called Candyland Red. And he said the variety came out of Montana, up in that direction. And so it's more of a bushy type of a mini tomato. cherry tomato rather than a bigger plant. So we're going to try the Candylands this year, and we'll get that on video also and see how it turns out.
That's a compact plant. It may fit the bill as far as not overtaking. You take a Sweet 100 or a Grape, they get massive.
Yeah.
I mean, give them 10 feet, they're going to take.
So what's the world record height on an indeterminate tomato?
I do not know.
The last I looked it up, 87, 90 feet.
I would say
in the tropics.
I would say easily. I knew of a guy that kept one alive in his greenhouse, and he just continued to trellis it. And he had it for 4 or 5 years before, at one point, he was on a trip and allowed that greenhouse to get too cold and it killed the plant. But his was, at that time, in his greenhouse, was over 100 feet long.
No doubt.
And he just kept it. And a tomato, it's a tropical plant, right? So,
right.
And it fruits and flowers and fruits off of the end of that vine. So you can have a bare old naked vine wrapped all over.
Yeah.
And as long as that
take
end
the
is,
leaves off,
that's
keep
right.
it trimmed.
That's right. I do that with my own tomatoes in my garden. Like so, I'll sucker them. But then as the year goes by, I will constantly take a scissor. I don't use because you don't want to tear back on that stem. But I will have just a naked stalk that may be standing this tall by the end of the season. And personal opinion, I think that
less growth, more energy to the tomato.
More energy to the tomato, and if disease starts, you wind up with that dead stuff that begins to decompose, or just it's dead. It is just your plant doesn't need to feed anything down there. Get rid of it. Focus on what's green at the top.
And so I'm kind of the same way. Whenever I see that those bottom leaves start to turn just a little yellow on the outside, so I'll remove them.
Yes.
And I've grown them 7, 8, 10 foot tall.
Yes.
And it would be a stem until you've seen the bushes and tomatoes.
And that is, in my opinion, that's what needs to be done. There's no point in trying to keep that growth down there looking good.
Right.
It is
not for the foliage, just for the fruit.
You need foliage where you're fruiting because you need to shade those tomatoes. They'll sunburn if you do not.
Yep.
But after that, after the blossom has passed, clip it.
And you know, a lot of people, because I've given away vegetables and tomatoes hundreds and thousands of pounds over my lifetime. And people will ask, well, how do you get them to grow so good? And you know, I think that the very key thing that I could say is if somebody asks, well, how do you get your tomato to grow so good? It's all about water.
Yes.
If you think that if you look at your plants and you say, well, I don't know, it looks like they might need water, you're too late. You're too late.
And
if it looks like it needs water, you're 2 days late. You should have already been on that.
I also believe that many times if we get into late July and August, certainly, it's hot outside. People don't want to be outside. And you cannot take a garden hose and just spray the surface.
It evaporate more than it saturates.
That is the truth. If it is not soaking way down in there and actually
getting to the roots,
slow soaking, you aren't doing any good.
And I tell you, I ordered my drip system from, Kentucky years ago, and that is the only. Now, to me, that's the best way I know now. But that's what I do on all of the drip systems.
It is. It's shy of a soaker hose running it all night long.
Oh my gosh! And even on city water, I've done this, and I've had as many as 500 jet stars at one time, and just gave it all away, which is what nursing homes, everything you can imagine. But I used the drip system, and I've never even seen an increase in my water bill.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a true story. So that's the only way I do it now is a drip system.
I live out here where I don't have a water bill,
so walk away.
It doesn't even register a water bill. Right. But many people have a water bill, and like you have just pointed out, it's really not that consuming. If you water at the right time of day, it's going. That's correct. It's going into your ground rather than just into a cloud. So
absolutely.
Perfect.
So yes, we're going to try the new variety.
Those are interesting.
And I'm going to go back with the Sweet 100s, and so I'll let you know how these turn out.
Dude, well, I mean, we've tried them just as a friend had them, but I think potentially for raised beds where you want everything to be a little bit more contained, I think they might be a real hit. I really do, because the plant is much more compact. So
good.
Good times, guys.
You'll be able to see it on YouTube when the plant gets up. We start picking.
I'll watch it.
Candyland cherry tomato. Let's see what we can come up with here. We're gonna water these tonight, this evening. There's my banana. California wonder. Alright, so that'll be a green one. And then we'll do the red knight. California wonder. 36. And it's 18, 3, 6. So that's 18 to a tray. And I want